The Givenchy Gentleman line is often heralded as the most sophisticated men's designer fragrance line of all time, with Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privee often being described as being accurate to what a gentleman should smell like. Bold words. Its soft presence demands to be discovered and not announced. Its well-blended notes and highly sophisticated composition scream, put your best suit on. We're confident and well-dressed tonight. If I had to imagine what a Kingsman agent smells like or what James Bond smells like, this would be my first guess. The elegance of the scent is even evident in the bottle design. You have a nice clicky bottle cap on top of the sophisticated looking bottle design with Givenchy Gentleman up front, the Givenchy logo at the back, and again at the top of this expensive feeling bottle cap. And to round off this excellent presentation, you have a nice sturdy atomizer that will help you unleash your inner gentleman. The top note of this fragrance is bergamot. The heart notes are iris, chocolate, and chestnut, and the base notes are whiskey, amber, and woods. Now, in terms of how those ingredients combine with each other and the scent that they produce off of my skin and to my nose, this scent opens up with a strong, powdery opening, something reminiscent to a baby wipe or photorealistic smell of baby powder. And this is where it's important to note the divisiveness of iris as a fragrance note. Some people swear by it, some people absolutely cannot stand it. I experience this duality within the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis and how they react to this fragrance anytime that I wear it. And now, while I personally love iris as a fragrance note, full disclosure, for the first day or two of owning this fragrance, that strong powdery smell is literally all I could pick up. It smelled like I smothered myself in baby powder and just walked around the whole day. After an hour or two, it does begin to transition away from the dominance of that powder in the beginning, and this is when it starts becoming more appealing to more noses. Now, the powdery aspect of the iris is still very much present at this stage, just not as dominant anymore. The sweetness from the chocolate and chestnut starts creeping through a little bit to form something that I can only describe as sophisticated sweetness. It's not anything loud and cloying or nauseatingly honey sweet like Lamal Elixir can be, or like Latava Kavarakawa. Just a dry, quiet sweetness held perfectly together by that powdery iris to form something just sophisticated, seductive, and breathtaking. This scent does have a few stages of sweetness. First, from what feels like it's coming from chocolate and chestnut, and then a little later on from what feels like it's coming from resinous woods and amber. And amber sweetness is one of the best kinds of sweetness in perfumery. It can feel a little feminine leaning at times, but I'll touch on how Reserve Privee handles that in a minute. Now, even with its multi-stage sweetness, I still wouldn't classify this as a primarily sweet fragrance. It's definitely still a powdery and woody fragrance with the additional layers of sweetness adding new dimensions to it that make it a beautifully complex composition. Coming back to amber, the dry down is where it truly starts to shine. The iris, chocolate, and chestnut start taking a little bit of a backseat and they fade into the background more and more, and what's left is this smooth resinous amber wrapped in woody tones. It's less powdery at this stage, more grounded, and feels like the fragrance finally finds its balance and settles into something effortlessly refined. This beautiful dry down feels like the reward for sticking with it through the powdery opening. At this stage, the scent has become classy and inviting and has reached the least polarizing part of its life cycle. And the really confusing part about that is that this is also the most complicated part of this fragrance's life cycle. And that complexity is even more perplexing when you realize that this dry down, this complicated dry down, is now also the most mass appealing part of this fragrance. And you wouldn't expect complexity and mass appeal to go hand in hand, but for some reason they do, and in this fragrance they go together very well. And it starts to dawn on you that whoever made this is an expert perfumer, because the way that the amber and the woody notes play off each other gives you a sweetness that's almost reminiscent to a lot of feminine fragrances that have amber and white musk in them. And it's very confusing because musk isn't even listed in the notes for this fragrance, yet it can remind you of that smell. And you put your nose to it and you know the woman that it reminds you of, you know the exact scent that it reminds you of, and yet somehow they've done it in a way in Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privee that it doesn't even feel feminine leaning. And other than cedarwood, I'm not entirely sure which woods they've used to balance off that amber and give it off that scent profile that it's pulling off here, but this really is expert perfumery, high level stuff. And that woody amber combination is pretty much all you get for the rest of this fragrance's life cycle, ending off the transition from a powdery opening to a sweet, seductive and inviting mid, all the way down to a classy, ambery dry down. In terms of seasons and wearability, this is 100% a cold weather geared fragrance. It's most suitable for evening occasions, special occasions, suits and tie, special events, weddings. You can even wear it on a date. It's a good date night fragrance, but only if your partner enjoys iris fragrances, because as we said, this is very polarizing. And if you want to get your James Bond on, you can even wear it to banquets and galas. But only ever wear this in the cold, because as much as it does have a soft sillage, and oftentimes you find that the thing that limits a lot of winter fragrances from being summer fragrances too, or being versatile year-round, is that in the high heat they can become cloying and headache inducing. And while the soft sillage of this means that it's not going to become cloying and headache inducing, it's very important to note that the composition and the balance of this fragrance changed dramatically in the high heat. And this is something that the recent uptrend in South Africa's weather has showed me recently. It has been winter for the longest of time. We've now transitioned into slightly warmer weather, and something that I noticed in the recently warming weather is that Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privee completely changes its composition in warm weather, and it almost comes off as sour off my skin. And while that soft sillage does make it office friendly, it also means that this fragrance flirts with the idea of being a skin scent for the majority of its life cycle without ever fully committing to the idea. Kind of like, that long-term partner that just doesn't know where they want to settle down or not. And this is where Givenchy continues with the confusing perfumery that somehow works perfectly well. Because first you have the scent profile that's reminiscent of a lot of women's fragrances, yet somehow isn't feminine at all. Then you have this pseudo skin scent that should not last as long as it does, because when something is that faint, you expect it to fade away after an hour or two. Yet for some inexplicable reason, this lives on my skin for well over 10 hours. All in all, Givenchy Gentleman Reserve Privee is a classy, elegant banger that's going to make you smell like you have your life together. And even if you don't have your life together, it's going to allow you to fake it until you make it. Because the confidence that comes with wearing something like this is absolutely unmatched.